The latest one, Matt Crouch and Hatgate. Were you across Matt Crouch's knocking of the cap off?
Yes, I have an awareness of it.
What do you make of it?
Well, it's one I can't comment around. There's an investigation going on at the moment, but Matt's got our full support, obviously. It's one of those things that it was, as I mentioned, the showdown seemed to have everything. It's a hard one because I look at it and see the positive and then the flip side of it. The reason that we, I guess, allow fans close to the boundary line is for those kids that just love footy and they have idols and they have heroes and they want to come down and get amongst it and selfies and it's the really positive part of our game that we love. And then there's the flip side, which we're dealing with now.
It's probably copying from the fan. It seems like there's a lot of vitriol and kind of from the showdown this time. Do you feel like it maybe, I guess the line's kind of been crossed with everything, kind of a bit nasty in some way the showdown?
No, I think it's just passion for sport. It was a big week. It was a big showdown. We played against a side that were playing for top 2, top 4. They were playing for finals. The competition's so tight. So it was a huge game. And with that comes an intensity. And the intensity I think we all enjoy and love. When adrenaline is pumping and emotions are high, sometimes we can overstep the line. And it can happen to anyone. And so, some could argue there was a little bit of that on the night. In the end, we come through it, and I think everyone loves showdowns, and we'll just continue to work on where that line is.
Is that a two-way street? Do we need to put protection in place for players as well when you're talking about that closeness to fans when you're walking off the field?
Well, that's the part I probably worry about is then what do we lose from a positive point of view? That interaction with the fans and the kids that just love footy and want to come down and spend time and meet someone. And nowadays it's a selfie or give me your boots or whatever it is. If we start putting up barriers and fences, we lose that. And I don't want to lose that. I think that's the best part of footy.
That possibility of nastiness, that's something David Koch addressed today on radio, saying that he believes that they have gone a little bit too far and there's too much sting and nastiness and we need to bring them back before the next showdown. He also said that Josh Shelley's comments regarding the power of fans' teeth could be seen as elitist, crap, denigrating and poor shaming. Just want to get your response to that and the overall feel of those comments.
Yeah, but probably not one I want to respond to, but at the same time I would like to talk about the lead-in, some of the things we look back on. We review the game and we do that every week. This one is one of those where there's a number of things that we look at, what we value, certain standards we've got to uphold as a group, and we didn't have our best week in that space. So we had some pretty good discussion around that, and this is both on and off field, both the lead into the game as well as the way we perform. There were key moments in the game where we probably knew they were going to come, in a reasonably big battle. It was how we handled those moments. We didn't get that right, and our opposition did, to their credit. They were able to really focus from some key moments and finish the game off stronger than we did. So we've gone over that. Ultimately, it comes back to our values, and we'll continue to learn in that space. It's both on and off field, areas that we want to be better at. We are still a young group, and we're going to make some mistakes. We're all human, but we'll continue to work our way through it.
This is not the first time Josh Shelley's made comments that have been scrutinised or maybe been out of line. Is he misaligned with those values that you talk about?
No. Josh is a passionate young lad, really important part of what we're building at this footy club. With that comes, as I mentioned before, we all have moments that we might like to have back. And it's not an individual here that we're talking about. There are a lot of things we looked at with the lead into this week right across the board for us. It wasn't just one individual player, it was us as a team and areas that we've got to be better in. And we have been strong in a lot of these areas throughout. Now, you can get it wrong occasionally, and I think this week's one that we look at and go, listen, there's some bits we've got to improve on.
What have you said have you said much to Josh around the whole incident?
As I mentioned, it's not the individual, but yes, Josh and I have talked, as we do every week, but we sat down as a group. I've sat down with numerous individuals and talked through their experience, what they've learned, how we get better.
Is it difficult to figure out where to draw the line, I guess, as a player and coach? Because obviously you want to let your footy do the talking, but you also don't want to lose all the personality as well.
100%, and that's the danger, and we openly discuss that. We talk about, we don't want to become robots. Our game is an exciting, dynamic game, both on and off the field. We want to have characters in our game, and people love that. That's why we go to the footy. It's what we love, and it's tough for some of these young guys when they sit in an interview and do 20 minutes worth of work, and 95% of that is wrapping up your opposition for how good they are and their weapons and their strengths, and then you maybe say one line that gets taken a fair bit out of context. But we also know that's where we just have to be better. It's a challenge for our guys. We want to work with you guys. We want to provide entertainment for everyone out there, but we also understand that you've got to be mindful of doing the right thing, and one of our key values is prioritise others. So if you bring it back to that, there's some stuff we want to be better at.
With respect, Matthew, it's not out of context. He said it twice and then runs up to the crowd and points to his teeth. There's no context missing.
Again, you're talking about an individual. I'm generalising across our group and how the week played out for our team this week.
Did you get fired up with Ken after the game? Mentioning dog act potentially?
Yeah, apparently someone was lip reading. I mentioned in the post game what Ken and I spoke about, and Ken came over and just wanted to check on Isaac first and foremost. We then had some discussion in amongst that. We finished up. I talked to him, wished him the best for finals, but I don't need to share everything that we spoke about with you guys.
How is Isaac, and what's your reaction to Dan Houston's ban?
Isaac's recovering really well. And so, I'm hoping today he comes in and shaves off Riley's beard, raises some money for charity. But we're pleased with how he's recovered. I think initially it was a bit of a concern on Saturday night, but he's in pretty good spirits, and that's really the only concern I've had out of it all. With respect, I don't care what the punishment is. It doesn't interest me. I'm interested in what our players, their welfare and their health.
How do you get the group up for final game of season? Dead rubber from your perspective. Sydney's told they've got to finish top. Especially after last week as well. Given such an intense game, everything's come out. How do you get the group pumped up for a game like this?
Yeah, it's not one that I've felt there's much need for motivation. Our guys, they're pretty strong in that space. They want to perform. We're going up against the best, and it's been an interesting finish to the season. I'd say our last 6 or so, I think we've played the top 6 or thereabouts. And now we go up against the best team in the competition. They sit atop. It's going to be pretty hard for them to get knocked off of that top spot, but I can't imagine they'll rest too many. They want to keep some momentum going in, so we're just looking forward to that challenge.
Will Tex play this weekend, and is there any chance whatsoever that it could be his last game, or is that contract basically a matter of time?
I believe Tex will play. Everything going well in today's training session. He's one that I just can't hold out. He refuses not to play. He talks about it and says, "Mate, I'm a footballer, and if I'm right to play, I want to play footy," and he wants to help the team. He knows that there's a tipping point. There's a balance of experience that we need, and he brings that. There's no doubt our guys stand taller when he's out on the ground, so we'll just get through today's session and expect him to get through because he's recovered really well, and then he'll play this weekend. Everything going well.
No final round debutant? No.
This week?
Yeah.
There may be. Again, we've still got a session to get through and a bit to look at, but we do have a couple of guys that have playing some pretty good footy at a lower level. It doesn't mean you get a game just because you're playing good footy, but it's pleasing to see, Oscar Ryan, Charlie Edwards, they're playing some great footy at SANFL level, and others. So.
Just going back to something he said yesterday, he was hopeful a new contract would be agreed or his future be sorted this week. Is that a likely outcome? Yeah,
I think, as we said the whole way through, it's one we're going to do it post the season. We've still got a game to play, so in saying that, the conversation's been really open, and so we'll just see where that lands.
Once you get through, we ask about Tex.
Yeah, here you go. I was just going to say, he spoke last night about his leadership that he still feels he can bring to the group as well. Did the way you lost your heads on Saturday show the importance still of having those cool older heads on field?
Yeah, I think you build. I mean, the more games of footy you play, the more games of footy you play alongside a teammate, the better the cohesion is and the understanding of what's needed in certain moments. We wanted to fly the flag as a group on the weekend and stick up for our mates, and as did our opposition. And I thought both teams did that. It was then our ability to then compose ourselves and get back to the job at hand that we didn't quite get right on the weekend. And so, as you've asked, having maybe that slightly more experienced head around the group to just calm ourselves down and bring ourselves back to what's needed. You know, Taylor brings that. He also allows guys to sort of step up. When you play alongside him, you seem to walk taller. The big guy's got your back. But in saying that, it's something that we're going to keep working on. Organically, we'll see growth in that area because guys tack on another 20-odd games each season, and we go through experiences like we did on the weekend where you get it wrong and you learn from it and you hope you don't get it wrong again.
Once you get through Saturday night, it's like a whole other season begins when you turn your attention to trade, and clubs have been on record about being aggressive this trade period. How hands-on are you going to be? Obviously, the recruit and list managers have their own sort of setup, but how are you involved? Are you going to get on this? What's the most important area you want to improve? Is it the midfield? You've been linked to so many players. Where are you, one area you really want to improve?
Yeah, it doesn't start this week. We go all year in that space. You guys probably keep a closer eye on us over this next few weeks, but we're constantly looking at how we improve, both within the four walls as well as what it is we can bring in to help what we've already got. Others on the commentary around us is about our midfield and whether we have a strong enough midfield at this point. We've got a really strong group in there that are developing fast. Sam Barry continues to improve. Saligo has stepped up this year. You saw Zachy Taylor start to come in and play some footy as well. So, even Dan Curtin, be it in his first year of footy, comes in as a key defender. We know he can play on ball. He's getting some time through there. So we're confident that we've got some organic growth that's going to come through, but we'll continue to look at improving in every area. Even if it is ahead of the ball, we'll have a look at it.
Do you believe Mark Keeg will be here in 2025?
Yes, I do.
Are you confident about that? Where is that at?
I'm always confident. Kenny is a little bit different. That's what I love about him. But yeah, he and I have had enough conversation that I'm confident that he wants to be here. We'll just keep working through what that looks like post him getting a freshen up and a break and heading back home for a period of time.
You have a great 10 or you have about 10 to 13 players out of contract, and looks like you're going to be so aggressive in the off season and be such a player. They're going to be guys who probably going to be unlucky to maybe get delisted in any other year where they probably would say you have to make list changes and draft and bring players in the draft as well. Yeah,
it'll be no different to any other year. The similar numbers are starting to stack up of who's contracted, who's not, what it is we're doing through the draft. We're required to take players in the draft, so there's always a turnover of players. So we'll just work through the same as we have each year.
There's a great clip doing the rounds of Sam Mitchell on Footy Classified, I think start of last year, where they were grilling him about letting guys like Tom Mitchell and Jago O'Meara leave the club, and he says, well, if they didn't, Will Day's not playing in the midfield, Cam McKenzie's not playing in the midfield. When you look at the way they've been able to pump a lot of games into younger players, do you have to, I guess further to the Sims question, do you have to be a bit ruthless with some guys that maybe should be playing AFL footy?
Yeah, I think it's always, we look around the league at what teams are doing really well, and you mentioned Hawthorn. They're in some rare form at the moment, and they have made changes to their list. So as I mentioned before, it won't be any different to the last few years, where we'll look to be aggressive at improving. And whether that means we've got to make change or whether that means we're confident on what's coming through, that's a decision we'll make as we get to it.